Shalom, shalom, family. I'm Nasi Ashula, and I'm on Shema Yisrael's channel. And, you know, this is my home. Shema is my home. So you're going to see a lot more of me. I'm also a part of Shomer HaTorah in Atlanta, and also a part of the Goshen community. I like to give respect and honor to Chief Principal, the head of the military, Prince Nathaniel, and my brother, Prince Nat. Today I want to speak about a few things that's very imperative and important. And I think that I'm going to be short tonight. You know, I was given a lesson at the last minute, but I think the message is coming from the heart, and I think people need to hear it. And I think this is something people want to hear. This message is for everybody, but it's mainly for leadership. It's mainly for the brothers who are sons of patriarchs in the movement, the Hebrew Israelite community, and those who seek to be this. Today, the lesson is Acharay Mote. It means after the death. And also is titled The Reckless Feelings of Entitlement. You got it. The Reckless Feelings of Entitlement. Something we're going to discuss today. And you know me, I like to get into the psychology of stuff. I'm not going to get too deep, but I'm going to talk about some things. And I'm going to talk from my heart. So I hope I don't offend anybody tonight. But today, leadership, you need to listen. And there's a big apology going out to all those who've been faithful in this walk and didn't receive justice and didn't receive the righteousness that they need. Here at Shema, we're trying to make sure we turn into a direction of preparing for the future. Preparing for the future of our nation. Preparing in all aspects, even if it means changing aspects of what we are and who we are as a community. So, immediately, I want to go into Shemuel Aleph, the 2nd chapter. And I'm going to start at the 12th verse. I'll give you a second to get along. All right, and we're going to go into Hophni and Pinchas. And again, I won't be long. Hophni and Pinchas, the two sons of Eli. Verse 12 says, the sons of Eli are unscrupulous men. They did not know of the Lord. This was how the priests would treat the people. When anyone slaughtered a sacrifice, the priest attendant would come while the meat was cooking with 3-pronged forks in his hand, and he would thrust it into the pot or the cauldron or the pan or the kettle, and the priest would take everything that was brought up with a fork. This is what they would do with all of Israelites who would come there to Shiloh. Even before they who would burn the fat on the altar, the priest attendants would come and say to the man bringing the offering, give me some meat for roasting for the priest. He will not take cooked meat from you, but only raw meat. So now we see the priests taking it upon themselves, and mainly the sons of Eli, because it uses the word unscrupulous. But the word in Hebrew says B'nai Belial. It means sons without profit. Worthless men. B'nai Belial. All right? So the Beli is without. The Ya'al means profit. Now that's a hard statement to make about somebody. But we see it in the scriptures. These men were vain, they were arrogant, they were in the feeling of themselves, and it said they did not know the Lord. Now that's weird coming from the sons of Eli, when his name means El is mine, or my God. It seems like it's a level of attachment from one generation to another. which we'll see all throughout the scriptures. And not only all throughout the scriptures, all throughout life. Sometimes individuals, parents go through a journey where their child feels entitled, but don't have the same reverence for the position that's given to them. We see this with celebrity children. We see it with child celebrities. When they grow up, they have a feeling of entitlement, but they don't have respect because early when they were growing up, everything was handed to them. And now we got these sons of Eli. I want to skip down to the 22nd verse. Eli became very old. Now this is very important what they said, because this happens. When an individual or a man becomes very old, sometimes he becomes very lackadaisical when it comes to judging his children. And most of the time because he's tired. He's been strict his whole life. He's been on them. And now he doesn't want to argue anymore. And we see this with all our leaders in Israel, especially dealing with their children. 22 states, he heard of everything that his sons were doing to all of Israel, that they laid with the women who congregated at the entrance of the tent of meetings. So he said to them, why do you do such a thing? I hear of your evil doings from all those, and it's not good. No, my sons, the report that I hear passed on by the Lord's people is not good. If a man sins against me, or a man sins against man, a judge tries him. But if he sins against the Lord, who can speak in his defense? But they would not hearken to their father's voice, for the Lord desired to kill them. All right. Man, there's so many beautiful things in this verse right here. Because it talks about them not being close to the Most High. And though that we see that they have a sense of entitlement, they use their ability and their power to lay with the women. And I've been around Israel a long time. And I know of major families in this way. We got big families. We got Cohen Levy family. We got Cohen Mikael's family. We got Chief Prince Paul's family, which I'm a part of. We got major players. The late, great Maury Elazar's family. Prince Harishad's family. The list goes on and on. The scriptures do not give messages of history that don't connect with your modern day behaviors. So that sense of entitlement had them lay with women at the entrance of the tent of meetings. And they didn't even hearken to their father's statement. It said, if I sin against man, then I get judged by a man. But if you sin against God, who can defend you? So think about this. Leaders, children of leaders, those aspiring to be leaders, your office is held to high esteem. God is judging you and not man. There has to be a certain level of justice and purity taken by us. And I start out by saying that growing up as a Hebrew Israelite in the seem entitled because they were children of leaders. I was raised in the Hebrew Israelite community. I was raised with the children of Chief Amos. I was raised alongside the children of Chief Rofe. These were the families that I went to after school and stayed amongst. And we grew up in strict households. And sometimes we didn't understand or revere the positions of our fathers, but we felt the entitlement of our fathers. Now, we talked about laying with the women. We talked about that. But let's go into some of the definitions that come from a feeling of entitlement. What does hafni mean? Hafni means a fighter, boxer, pugilist. Someone who feels brawly, always ready to fight because they feel entitled. Then you have Pinchas. Now, Pinchas means the mouth of the serpent, means he's subtle, he can beguile you. Ladies, it's many of that in our community. These sons of leaders can do that. And God forgive me, my family, and all of the brothers who have been a part of this behavior. And sometimes our feeling of entitlement doesn't come from a heart of feeling that we're really somebody, but it comes from a deep down shame inside of us that exists that wants to fill a void to make us feel like we're somebody. Sometimes we wasn't ready to be put in a place, in a position of power. So we take it prematurely and we feel that we're somebody because I'm the son of Chief Prince of Paul. So I'm very brawly or ready to fight because nobody can tell me nothing, or I'm very cunning with my mouth and I subdue women. I pray that the Father forgive us because we're about to touch about Acharay Mote. Acharay Mote is very imperative. And I'm almost done. But I'm going to get into the surface and the tip of the lesson to let you understand that God is not playing with his people. And usually you hear me speaking positive and motivational stuff, and this is motivational. It's to put fire under you. Sometimes it's not to feel good, but it's the real good. Something that you need to hear in order to revere the Almighty God. I want to go to Leviticus, Wayikra, the 16th chapter. Acharay Mote, let us set the table for Acharay Mote because this is important. Now, Leviticus 10, Aaron's sons died. He had Nadab and Abihu. His babies. His children who he loved. They died. Think about that. I want you to think about that. And then after they died, for bringing strange offerings, God spoke to Aaron and told them about drinking before bringing the offering and performing before the people. And also, he spoke to them and he spoke to Aaron about being prepared and being right. About him wanting an offering from those who were near him. Near him. Now, sometimes when we feel entitled as people, we believe that we are the generation before us. We believe that we are our fathers, but we're not. And sometimes we don't hold the same reverence as our fathers did. I watched my father with all his beauty, all his greatness, some flaws. I watch a man who fears God. And when you hear them are lessons from fearing God. It's not a lesson from fearing man. See, politics is fearing man. then realness is fearing God and bringing forth the truth no matter what. And today I feel that feeling, that I will bring that truth no matter what. So Aaron lost his baby boys. So imagine that you just have a congregation where there's millions of people that come and everybody coming, and you're so excited to worship God, and all of a sudden in the middle of the worship, your sons are vaporized by God. There's a lot of things that can happen. There can be a feeling of anger and hatred towards God. Imagine how Aaron's wife felt. There's a level of hurt and pain. And God told him, don't weep, don't mourn. Because his service went on. Don't weep. Don't shine your head. Don't look bad in front of the people. This is our grand opening. God's grand opening to the people. And I say that because that's so powerful. God's service was so powerful that God didn't care about you being sick, you being tired, you overslept, you did this. God's service was so powerful that anybody that treated like it was nothing was destroyed. And sometimes we got to think about this. Acharay was a logical thinker. He was a left-brain thinker. Everything had to be logic and practical to him. Then you have Nadab and Abihu. One who means, Nadab means generous, a free giving. Then you had Abihu. Abihu means he is my father. My father, entitlement. He felt entitled because Aharon was his father. So now Nadab, feeling that everybody needs to give to me. I'm generous. I'm this. They need to be generous to me because Aharon is my father. But do you know what Aharon been through? Aharon been through ups and downs, his flaws, his mistakes. Aharon brung in a strange deity into practice. But then it goes to show you about patterns, because Aharon's children brought in a strange fire to the people. So sometimes when we try to break patterns of our fathers, we tend to go so opposite that it's actually corrupt. So it's almost like you're in a boat and one person is standing on the side of the boat and the boat is tilting, and everybody try to correct it by running to the other side of the boat. But all it does is lead to death. A person says, I'm not going to be like my father. Because they were spoiled children. They were children sometimes that didn't have time with their father as much because they were so devoted to the nation that they didn't get the upbringing that they needed. And their fathers put their nations first. So all you children that are son of leaders, don't think bad because your father put his nation first. Because sometimes it's the sacrifice that he needed to make. Moses didn't even see his children for a while. Zipporah was angry with him. And in fact, in the book of Judges, there's a child called Gershom ben Manasseh, which was a person who revered the Lord but had idols in his practices. But our sages put the noon in there in order to cover up Moses' name. So here you see a lot of children bucking the system or believing that they're entitled and functioning inside of the system by manipulating and taking advantage. And I ask the Father, forgive me and my family this day for all the wrong and sins that we have done against your people, Most High. I ask that you remove these sins from us. And I want to read a little bit before I close out. The Lord spoke unto Moshe, saying, after the death of Aharon, 2 sons, who approached the Lord, and they died. The Lord said unto Moses, speak to Acharay your brother, that he may not enter at all times into my sanctuary. Now think about it. Now the Most High spoke directly to Aaron. And on top of that, he said Moses to still give him word. Forget your feelings, Aaron. When it comes to God, it is a severe situation. When it comes to God, you have to persevere. You have to stand up for what's right. You could not be favoring your own personal emotions. This man still had to perform a service when his sons died. And like the story of one of the late greats, Cohen Levy, after his son died, he performed a service. Because it's about the Creator. It's about the Most High. And so now he receives word. And we continue. And it says you should not enter the sanctuary at all times. Meaning that there's a certain level of righteousness. If you become so righteous, then you're going to be held more accountable. So you think, ever since I turned to God, more problems are coming in my life because you cannot afford to make simple mistakes. And especially you, son of a great man, son of renowns, son of principals, sons of Cohen Levy, sons of Cohen Mikael, sons of More Mishael. You have to be very, very cautious. God watches you differently. Are you sticking your fork in the pot, take it out? Are you laying with the women and sleeping with them? Are you being the one that's beguiling them? Are you the one that gets angry easy and ready to fight? It's not what God wants for his people. You're in a position where your life depends on it at every moment. Every move you make. Be very cautious. God is watching. And sometimes you're so ignorant you don't know that God is destroying your own life. I've been that way. I was so ignorant to the demise of who I was and the destruction of what I did, I justified my own destruction. I made excuses why I'm being destroyed and how I'm better than my own destruction. God has a plan for all of us. Skip down to 3. With this shall Aaron come into the sanctuary with a young bullock and a sin offering and a ram and a burnt offering. He shall put on his holy linen tunics. Linen breeches shall be against his flesh. He shall gird himself with a linen sash, and he shall wear linen turbans. They are holy garments. He shall immerse himself in water and put them on him. He shall take from the community of the children of Israel 2 he goats and a sin offering, and 1 ram offering and 1 burnt offering. So now God is being still meticulous with his decision, Aaron. And when you go in that sanctuary, you better have them fly garbs on. Don't let one part of that garment not be there. So I'm kind of going to end out with this. If you know Torah and you read this every year, how do you feel that it's okay to be a leader and be moved by emotions? How do you feel that it's okay to be a leader and not be on time for God's service? How do you feel it's okay to be a leader and feel entitled in a way, but don't give the best to God's people? If you are a person that don't show up to services, show up late, don't do this, don't do that, leadership isn't for you. Save your family and get the hell out of Dodge. Leave this alone. Aaron lost his sons. Stop playing games with the law. If you are a teacher, if you a captain, if you a general, if you a moray, if you're any of this, and you leave the service of God because somebody hurt your feelings and you don't speak about it, leave. It is not for you. If you are a person that gets offended easily when people stress the importance of God's service to you, then leave. And not because people don't want you in a special group, but this is something to preserve your family. I watch children die. I watch family members hate each other. I watch people ready to kill themselves just because they were sons and descendants of individuals and they put themselves in positions that they wasn't ready for. If you are a leader of Shomrei HaTorah, Shema Yisrael, and part of the Goshen community, then you have to make sure you give it your all because you're doing this for God and none else. And again, I ask God to forgive me and put a special blessing on my family and forgive us for our sins and iniquities. Forgive me for the part I played in haughtiness and being serpent-like with the tongue, or even being angry and ready to fight because I felt entitled. And I ask God to move all my family, to move all my brothers and sisters, to move all the family of Mori Mishael, of Cohen Lewi, of Cohen Mikael, of Mori Elazar, all the great families, and there's many more, to know that you are children of great men and God is not playing with you. And when it comes to his service, give it his best. Give the praise, give the worship, and give the glory. Hallelujah.